They let Josh Ruben do whatever he wanted, and just seeing them go for it within this movie just really showcases just like why this movie is getting praised.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I am James.
And this week we're talking Josh Ruben's latest film, Hard Eyes.
Happy B-Day!
Get killed, all right? What was...
Why would he say that?
Hard Eyes is a fun Valentine's Day slasher, and it tells the story of the Hard Eyes killer who has wreaked havoc on Valentine's Day for the past several years by stalking and murdering romantic couples. This Valentine's Day, no couple is safe. What a tagline right there. Yeah, Valentine's Day. Surprisingly not enough slashers. Of course, we have the original My Bloody Valentine, but I always thought it was weird that it's like a minor attacking everyone for that day. I just saw that movie for the first time, I believe, last year, but I had seen the remake, the 3D one that came out like a decade ago. When that came out. And then just recently, I also saw the movie Valentine, where the killer wears a Cupid mask. Now we have another iconic killer with this one, the Heart Eyes killer, or HEK as they call him in the movie. What a cool mask and design that they came up with for this character. Josh Ruben, applaud to you. I had no interest in seeing this movie until you told me Josh Ruben made it. But Blaise, what are your thoughts coming out of it?
Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I thought it was that kind of... It's not a Blumhouse movie, but it does feel like that kind of cheap Blumhouse movie that people have grown to love or grown to hate. And I honestly will say I've grown to hate those movies, but this was done in such a different style because it felt like... I know people have been saying like, oh, it's the kind of romantic movie, like a good date movie. It's a romantic movie, but it's also, a slasher movie, and it's totally that. That's literally what it is. It's a romantic comedy meets a slasher movie, and I thought that was such a fun kind of like combination. I think normally I would think that wouldn't work, but when it comes to Josh Ruben helming something like this, I think it works really well. It is like kind of that cheap studio slasher movie where they make maybe 12 of these a year essentially, or maybe less obviously, but they'll buy a certain amount to fill that quota, and this is Screen Gems like filling that quota of like, all right, we need a horror movie for Valentine's Day, and I think it totally works. I thought this movie was hilarious, and it was definitely romantic at times, and I thought it just filled that niche of the perfect date night movie.
Absolutely. I think one thing that the movies that I mentioned earlier got wrong was just not having a convincing or entertaining love story to begin with within the movie. Like, all those movies do have a love interest in some aspect, but really just gets taken down by just like an ex-boyfriend being there to ruin everything, or just having other college kids kind of just be annoying. Whereas this movie, it's all people in the real adult world just working their normal jobs, and there's a lot of chemistry between the main characters, and that's what was key to make this movie work. I only have really experience seeing Alex Walker as Patrick in the Scream movies, and this movie was advertised as being like kind of like a Scream ripoff, and clever marketing to get people who are interested in the Scream franchise interested in this. But what makes this movie work is, as you said, the comedy and just the love story within the movie. Like, I don't want people to think that this is a love story movie. This is, at the end of the day, a fun horror slasher with some really crazy gory kills that, like, Jason Voorhees can only dream up of doing. This movie goes, way over the top. I wouldn't take the acting too serious within this movie. I can see some people complain the acting was terrible. It's supposed to be a B horror movie comedy, and it just works well. And I think Josh Ruben was just the right guy to do it. I never would have thought it, a movie coming from Sony and Josh Ruben doing his directorial mainstream movie debut. Or I guess a big production studio movie. Yeah. So a great studio debut to just like, have his voice still and bring like, elements of other movies that we've seen, but tie it so well done and just correctly.
Yeah, and I kind of elaborate on you're saying the gore effects in this movie. That's not something you get at all from the trailer. Like, I didn't feel like this movie was going to be super gory. I think it was going to play it safe. You know, it's a studio movie. A lot of the gore effects in this movie are absolutely insane, and they just play really well with that element of comedy, because it's like the gore is like so over the top, and some of the prosthetics and kills that happen, you're just like, dude, that was intense. But then they'll crack a joke like a couple minutes later, so it kind of makes it play a little bit better than, like, you know, something like a crazy like Saw movie where there's literally no hint of comedy in it. Where it plays just very well. There's some awesome kills in this movie. If that's something you're into, don't skip this movie, because I feel like this isn't gonna play to everyone's like enjoyment. You know, there's gonna be a lot of like those gore hounds that don't want to watch, you know, like a romantic movie, but this is that funny kind of campy style movie. It has romance in it. It's not like The Notebook, you know, but it's something more like Crazy Stupid Love or something like that, where it's just like pretty funny and it's there, but it is over the top like movie kind of romance movie like cliches. There was that line that cracked me up. I was trying to look for it, but I need to search a little bit harder. But when the friend like calls up and like just makes literally a whole like sentence of just naming romantic movies, and that cracked me up.
Yeah, I got the vibe that this is going to be a PG-13 movie. I don't know why they didn't release like a R band, like a red band trailer, whatever they call it these days. Just because most movies, like, you know, everyone's going to see whatever movie, no matter what the rating is. Look at Wolverine and Deadpool. It just proves a movie, just because it's rated R doesn't mean people won't go see it. But, you know, this Sony kind of has that like influence of just like, you know, how do we get as many people to see this movie as possible? So they easily could have dumbed this down to a PG-13 movie, but no, they let Josh Ruben do whatever he wanted, and just like seeing, well, maybe not whatever he wanted, but just seeing them go for it within this movie just really showcases just like why this movie is getting praise and why this movie is probably going to get remembered. And, you know, is it going to become a franchise? Who knows? I think it's, like I said, one of the coolest outfits. It's easy with these kind of slasher movies to take in the Scream direction where you can have a new killer each movie. Minor spoilers. I'm not going to spoil really anything that happens within the movie, but I just wanted to like say I wish the movie ended with you know, the killers, when they're revealed, they kind of say like, you know, killing with each other is the best thing ever, and like it's such a kink for them. Would have loved if the couple at the end of this movie just got into that or something and killed their boss, just because that boss is like evil at the beginning of the movie, and I was expecting her to die, and that's not the case. So I thought it would have been a funny, like, you know, what goes around comes around joke. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to make that, like, you know, I'm not going to say that made the movie fall down. I just would have loved to have seen that, though.
Yeah, this one definitely, I feel like I was caught by surprise, because seeing those first couple of trailers, I was like, this just looks like a stupid Christopher Landon movie. And it is a Christopher Landon movie, but surprisingly, it has the right direction. It's not just some random director they grabbed off one of the sets of Wish Upon or something. Wasn't that a movie? Like, I feel like there's some of those
movies pretty bad.
There's some of those Blumhouse movies where they just grab like a random guy who was assistant director on like one of the previous ones, and then like you're gonna get this one, but then it's not gonna like become anything else than just like, we needed somebody to sit in the director chair for this movie.
Right, yeah, which thank the Lord for that. Yeah, because I forgot which filmmaker it was that we kind of bashed. He directed the remake of Firestarter and wrote like Halloween Ends and wrote Exorcist Believer, and we're just like, whose cousin or son is this that just has no experience and just all of a sudden is getting all these huge movies? Well, not huge movies, but, you know, movies that have a IP essentially. So this could have gone in that direction. But it wasn't. Yeah, I forgot that Christopher Landon wrote this movie, and, you know, while I'm not the biggest fan of him, a lot of his stuff though does work for me, and this is, I'd say, probably one of his better scripts. So I'm surprised he didn't direct it, but, you know, I love when someone with a name though lends their projects to other filmmakers to let them have their chance to shine. We were just talking about that the other week with one of our other reviews, and yeah, works out great. Like, even though Josh Ruben is a known name within the horror community, it's still a very small community that's aware of him just through, like, you know, if you're addicted to Shudder and horror like we are. But you know, hopefully more eyes get to check them out, and hopefully more movies come out of this.
Scott Teems is the writer, producer.
Yes, there we go.
I wonder what he's up to now. He's got to be doing something. He worked on Insidious: The Red Door. Oh,
okay.
You know what he worked on, actually, now that I think about it. His last movie that he did was Exorcist Believer.
Yeah. Which was brutal. I had an interesting setup in that first 30 minutes, but that movie was a chore to get through. And I'm glad that they're going in a new direction, but damn, what a piece of crap that movie was.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, like, I feel like the kind of in horror, even in just Hollywood in general, like, you can fail upwards, and like you can produce like 3 or 4 bad movies, but just somehow you'll still be getting opportunities based on those bad movies. But yeah, I would say that Hard Eyes is not one of those bad movies. This was definitely a surprise. I think if my wife liked horror movies, this would have been a fun one to check out. But some of that gore, I don't think that would be hard to get the green card for her to watch some of those scenes, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for anyone who's interested in horror and does enjoy it, but wants something just a little bit more tolerable, this movie might be it. It is still gorier than your everyday movie. It's gorier than anything we've seen in the Scream franchise, and all those movies are rated R. But it's done more in a comedic, more tasteful approach, I guess you could say, even though it's a little bit more grotesque. But yeah, what I love about horror is there's so many different flavors of horror, and this one's not going to be for everyone, but there's going to be fun aspects for anyone to enjoy. I feel like if you really are looking for stuff to nitpick, you're just kind of the buzzkill of the party, and you got to look deeply into yourself, I feel like.
I think this really is that campy kind of movie. If you like campy movies, you're definitely going to enjoy this movie, because I'm kind of that guy who loves like a good campy movie. I like full moon movies and stuff. And this isn't a bad movie by any means, but it does have that kind of campy element, and the comedy plays into it. And it's just an absolute blast. I had a ton of fun with this movie.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, enough from us. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below. That's a great way to help support this show. Just let us know what you thought about the movie.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and we also have our own personal Letterboxd accounts in there. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.